Joining me now to discuss is New York Congressman John Katko. Congressman, what exactly did you see?
Well, I'm the head of the Homeland Security Committee in Congress for Republicans. I led a delegation to the border, and we went down on a fact-finding trip. Around midnight one night, we came across a bunch of illegal aliens who had just crossed the border. We were out in the bush seeing for ourselves what's going on. One of them was a father and young son. He was brought to the Donna processing facility, and within less than 12 hours or 16 hours, he was on a flight to Dallas-Fort Worth, and then from there to Philadelphia, New York. And all they had was an envelope on the front with saying they don't speak English and please help them, and on the back was written down their flight numbers and where they were going to. They've been thrust through that facility without a COVID test, to our knowledge. I'm not sure if he ultimately had the test. It's clear that not everyone is being tested. And what they're doing now is they're putting people on flights. And what's really remarkable about that is they're putting them on flights. They're not always being tested for COVID. At least 10% of the people that are ultimately tested are testing positive for COVID. So highly likely that there's a chance that some of these people have COVID on these flights. They're getting on the flights. They don't have identification, which no American can do. And we found out that FEMA is paying for it through the money they give to the NGOs, the charities that are working with these individuals down on the border. So it's really remarkable that the only people in the United States of America that can get on a flight with no identification, and a lot of times nobody knows who they are. They could be on a terror watch list.
So forgive me, Congressman, I don't mean to interrupt you, but
sure.
I need you to paint this picture for the audience. Are these commercial flights? Are these military flights? Is Border Patrol escorting these individuals place to place? What exactly is happening here?
Well, yeah, like I said, I'll give this as a case example of what happened that night. We saw that individual and his son that night. They had come across the border illegally. They were processed at the Donna processing facility, where they still have a tremendous problem with 400, 500% overcapacity. They were kicked out of there by morning, sent to an airport, and they were brought through an airport, commercial airport. They were dropped off at the airport. They were brought through somehow through security, even though they didn't have an ID. They were put on planes, commercial planes with others. On the plane on both planes that our members were on, there was several families, at least 5 or 6 families on each plane, all of them with the envelopes, all of them going to certain destinations, and that's it. Highly likely they were all tested, and it's clear that they didn't have identification, yet they were getting through. So it really is an unbelievable security breach. I spent the last 6 years in Congress keeping this country as safe as I can, and definitely working as hard as I can to keep airlines safe. And this is the biggest security gap I've seen since I've been in Congress.
Congressman, forgive my ignorance, but is this catch and release all over again?
This is catch and release on turbocharge. Absolutely. And you know what? Really, the fact of the matter is every single state in this country is now a border state, because these people are being sent there and they're not alerting authorities when they're sending them there. We found out about a shipment of immigrants going up to Michigan because a janitor at one of the facilities that we're going to got tipped off the night before and called us. So I understand that we have a crisis. I understand the crisis was born out of the president's executive orders on January 20th. But the fact of the matter is these people are being disseminated all over the country with no security checks. And by the way, no court dates to appear in court to answer to the fact that they're here illegally. And that's how they're relieving the pressure at the Donna facility, which is still 400% over capacity.
Congressman, our border czar, the Vice President Kamala Harris, says that she's figured it out what the problem is. It is climate change. Do you agree?
When I first saw that, I'm like, well, that indicates 2 things to me. She's not taking the situation seriously, and she clearly doesn't know what she's talking about because she hasn't been to the border. And if you're going to make comments on what's going on, you ought to get down to the border and see what we have seen. I've been down there twice, and the human tragedy that is caused by this executive order is stunning. It's a humanitarian crisis that we, and this United States government, caused. January 20th was a catalyst. I've talked to literally hundreds of law enforcement, federal, state, and local, and all of them at the border are saying that the catalyst for this surge at the border was January 20th and what the president's executive orders were. They're coming across the border. They're not even running from us. When they see us, they are like coming up to us and just giving themselves up because they know they're not going to get kicked out of the country, which is stunning. and it's against everything we think about. So for her to say that, it just defies logic. I highly suggest she goes down and take a walk to the Donna facility, but more importantly, I highly suggest that she goes out and walks in the bush with us to see what we saw, and also to talk to the law enforcement officers who are killing themselves trying to get this done.
Congressman, thank you so much. We're going to be following your leadership on this issue. Thanks so much for being on the program.
You got it.